I'll get the hang of that in future episodes. Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. Welcome back to the. Hold on. Can't see him. Can't see the DVD. There. Better. Welcome back to the Smallville Retrospectives. We are starting season 2. One thing to note. My tripod broke yesterday when I was trying to watch YouTube videos while playing video games. Tripod broke. Top of it broke off. Hoping I can buy a new one on Friday, but for now I have to use this recording apparatus made of DVD cases. So, just for hopefully until I get a new tripod. So, we're talking about Season 2, Episode 1, Vortex. Before we get into that, though, I have since I reviewed this episode, watched and reviewed the season finale, I've watched all of Season 1 of the Talkville podcast. And apparently, from what I can remember, Michael Rosenbaum was talking about that originally they were going to kill off Whitney in a tornado. That they were going to get hit on the way to the bus station. They never made it to the bus station, and that the truck was going to get picked up and Whitney was going to die. Not going to make it to the Marine thing, but they ended up not going with that. So this episode, we're talking about, I thought it was pretty good. Until the climax of the episode that I felt was needlessly shoved in there because they needed a conflict to end the episode. Because it really seemed like something had happened and then all of a sudden, snap. So, this episode begins basically, previously on, showing us everything that happened. And so, what we have left off is that Nixon found the spaceship, put the key in the spaceship. It rose up. Nixon ran off when found out by Jonathan and Martha. Jonathan chased after him into the storm. The ship flew off somewhere. Lana got caught in the tornado. Clark goes to save her. That sort of thing. And Whitney's gone now. So one thing to note is that Eric Johnson is no longer a regular. They kept saying on a Talkville that he was going to be a recurring. He only shows up one episode. It's not really him. Spoiler alert. But Lionel Luthor. John Glover. John Glover is now a regular as Lionel Luthor. That's the other cliffhanger I forgot to mention is that Lionel is stuck in Lex's mansion, his office in his mansion. Pillar pointing right at him. Right? And Lex is hesitating to save it. So, we kind of start with a little convoluted thing where we have stuff happening like Clark is in a tornado. It picks up right after he saves Lana. He takes the... Actually, it ends with him saving Lana. They're in the field. It's the picture I used for the thumbnail. Then the credits start. And John Glover is now in the opening credits. Eric Johnson is gone. So, and honestly, if I can talk about Whitney here quick before I don't talk about him again until later in the season. I feel that it was good that they got rid of Whitney. Because I felt like his character went from being Lana's boyfriend to jealous guy. Then they did that story with his dad. And once they did that character growth, there was nothing else for him to do. So having him go off and leave or something. And I do think it's better to have him leave than to kill him off. Although, spoiler alert, he ends up getting killed off anyway. But, And I don't know about the writers for this because they seem to hint like there's something with Clark and Lana, but we had this whole goodbye, mushy, lovey-dovey thing with her and Whitney saying that she's gonna wait for him and Clark is gonna, I don't know. I know it's still a love triangle, even though he's not there. I don't know. But we cut to the chase of Roger Nixon, and he chases him down into what we find out is an old crypt or a tomb for an old mausoleum or something, or it used to be there, and chase each other down, and they get stuck down there. So, and Lex, after hesitating, saves his father, takes him to the Smallville hospital, and to sum up this plot, okay, they tell him that he's he's injured, like his spleen has been ruptured, and he's got back issues, and his optic nerves are injured as well. And they say that he needs to do surgery, but one doctor cautions against it and says that they need to wait and let the rest of his body, let the stuff set first. But Lex opts to do it right away, which causes maybe I'm still not entirely clear on this. Causes Lionel to be blind, maybe. Because, spoiler alert, at one point in the season, it's revealed he's not blind. And I remember specifically being confused about this because, like I said, when I rented these DVDs, they were out of order. So I would rent a disc from season 1 and a disc from season 3 and a disc from season 2, that sort of thing. So if I watched like a disc of season 3 and then watched a disc of season 2 and he's blind, and I'm like, wait, what? How? He's not blind in season 3. What the hell happened? That sort of thing. It's very convoluted. When we get to that episode, I'm going to try to explain I don't want to go into full spoilers on that, but try to explain what I think happened, but I'm not 100% sure on that even. But then again, I'm going to watch the top episode, so maybe they'll talk about it. Who knows? So that's Lex's story here. Is he finds out that Lionel's going to be blind, right? So, meanwhile, Clark is out the basis of this story is trying to find Jonathan. There's not really a B plot, although they do sometimes cut to the Talon, which is acting as a tornado relief shelter, but it's not really like a B plot. It's just for conversations. So, Clark is looking for Jonathan and can't find him. Lex comes along to help him after taking his father to the hospital. And they find a car stuck in a tree, which Lex notices is Roger Nixon's car. Instead of telling Clark that, he says, Clark, we should split up, cover more ground. And as soon as Clark takes off, he calls Nixon's phone. And of course, he's locked with Jonathan Kent. And Jonathan Kent makes the stupidest fucking decision just so that we can run out the runtime of this episode. Okay? The phone rings. At this point, they're trying to find his cell phone. They find it. He answers the phone. And as soon as Jonathan finds out it's Lex, he takes the phone and just smashes it against the freaking wall. And I went, oh, even when I first watched this, I'm like, you stupid fucking idiot. And he's like, well, I would rather die down here than have you and Lex expose my son. And I'm like, there's still a way to shut him up. Like, there's still ways to get around this. Getting out. I understand you don't want to battle Lex Luthor. You don't want Lex Luthor to find out about your son, but I think I said this before. Maybe if Clark had confided in Lex early on, being that this is technically an alternate version of the Superman story, they could have done that. Confided in Lex early on about his abilities, maybe Lex wouldn't have gone all, It's also Lionel's fault too. It's a little. But yeah, he smashes it, and so They have no cell phone. But Clark catches him trying to talk to Nixon, and this is sort of the downfall of this friendship, in a way. But not yet. Not yet. Anyway, so Clark doesn't know what to believe anymore, and takes off trying to find his dad, and Lex is sort of left behind. So it's the next day. They're doing the tornado relief at the Talon. There's a lot that happens in the episode, so if I missed something, I'm sorry. And they're trying to figure out, where they are, and they find that it's Lex who tells him that he tells him, yeah, I realized that was Nixon's car, and he's like, you say you didn't know Nixon. He came to me, and he told me, he offered to tell me all the secrets about your family, and I told him to stay away from you. Which I don't remember if that's true, but there's another side of the story that, so Lex tells him that there's only one cell tower, and so there can only be one cell tower active at this point, and that there's going to be a certain radius from where they were standing where they could be. So they map out that radius, and Clark, Chloe, and Pete go to check it out. Lex is not with them for some reason. I don't know why, because it wasn't needed for this, but he's the one that tells them about this, and he doesn't go with them. I don't know. He does show up later. So they're looking around, and it was established earlier in the episode that the cover to that crypt thing is lined with lead, so Clark can't see through it, which Nixon didn't know about his X-ray vision. Now he does. But so when they go to look, Clark does a scan with his X-ray vision, and he goes, they're not in there. And I think it's Pete that says, what are you, a bloodhound or something? Or maybe I think it was Chloe. He's like, what are you, part bloodhound? And then he searches underneath and doesn't see anything because the light is stopping him, so they leave. Even though they're shouting, and Chloe's like, do you hear that? He's like, come on, there's not. And that's when he kind of looks under the ground and doesn't see anything. He's like, come on, let's go. Let's search somewhere else. And so, yeah. One thing I want to point out here is there is a moment. So, they're trying to dig out, and when they hear that someone's up there, Nixon tries to frantically dig, and they end up buried underneath dirt. This is where they have a conversation about Clark. And Jonathan lays out a story of Clark when he was a toddler underneath an oak bed that his father had built, and he lifted it up, and it was like 500 pounds. And they were going to take him to some doctors and scientists, but when they went there, Martha said that they shouldn't leave him there because they didn't think they'd ever see him again. And it's Nixon's face in this scene that made me think, oh, maybe he's had a change of heart. And this feels like there were two versions of the script written, because this feels like a turnaround for the Nixon character. He was going to hear this and change his mind about the story and make a promise never to say anything. But that was the first draft. But then someone saw this and goes, "No, we need a fight at the end of the at the end of the episode." So they threw in a fight that honestly doesn't make much sense, considering this scene is still in the final episode, in the final product. Because you look at Nixon's face and you feel like he's understanding why they haven't told anyone about him. Then it's all thrown away because Clark eventually finds them, right? Because they find out about the crypt. So he goes back, and I love how Pete's like, "Hey, we should get some more people because you can't do it on yourself, Clark." And because his mom's there, he's like, "Oh, Clark, Pete and I will go get some help, and we'll meet you there." And so he just super speeds off and goes. And it's here I noticed, well, he's wearing his jacket. I don't know why I noticed that, but it kind of does come up in my head, But he lifts the thing up, and I laugh because he lifts it up, and when it falls back, it completely goes flat. I'm just like, wow, that was not built in any way for it to just, that it was so flimsy that when he just, and he's, it flattened like it was made of cardboard or something, which it probably was. But I just laughed because it just went, I'm going to go back quick to a conversation because I need to point this out. While the three kids, 23-year-old kids, were searching for Jonathan, Clark and Chloe reassessed their relationship after he took off on her. And she's the one who instigates that they should be friends. Now, guys, when a girl that you might, have something going on with says we should just be friends, this is a test, and you should say, no, I think we should try. I think we should try this. Clark agrees with her, and then after he leaves, she breaks down, which, credit to Allison Mack, I know she's persona non grata right now, but she was a great actor. And when she cries, you feel it. And of course, it's Pete that comes to pick up the pieces, and this leads to later in the season, there's an episode where inhibitions are dropped, and yeah, that comes out, but yeah, it's this scene that I sat there and I'm watching this and I thought, when I was younger, I would have sided with Clark. But now, as an adult who can somewhat understand women, not fully, but somewhat, I kind of sided with Chloe here. It was clearly a test, and Clark failed. I'm just saying. But back to this. So this is where the episode kind of falls apart for me because I feel like it's an unnecessary climactic fight for no reason. Clark comes down to save them, and I was a little confused. He lifts it up, and I'm like, I thought it was like kryptonite or something. No, he gets down there, and there's kryptonite down there, or meteor rocks, despite the fact that they were never mentioned before this. They're down there. And Jonathan's like, he completely trusts Nixon now for some reason. And it's like, Nixon, get him away from the meteor rocks. They make him sick. And so Nixon, of course, takes a rock, puts it in his jacket, and pulls Clark up. I do like this, though. I kind of laughed because he takes this little thing, goes, whip, whip, and realizes his car is in the tree. Like, oh, son of what? And he gets tackled by Jonathan. And, but Nixon gets the high ground, as you would say. And before he can stab him with the metal sign pole, there's a gunshot. Nixon falls, and Lex is there. So what's the time frame here? Because in the scene right before this, he's at the hospital telling the doctors to perform the surgery on his father. And I'm like, because I remembered Lex shooting, and I'm like, no, it couldn't be Lex. It couldn't be Lex. He's just at the hospital. He was there. I'm like, okay. How did he know where they were? How did he know? There's no explanation as to how Lex knew they were there. Like, nothing. He just knew they were there. No, your mom told me where you were, or Pete told me where you were, or Nothing. There was nothing. Maybe there was the deleted scene where he ran into them. Who knows? But they never explain it. He's just there, and he shoots Nixon, and now Nixon is dead. And what a wasted opportunity. What a wasted opportunity, because this character could have come back as an ally for the Kents at some point. Because think about it. He now realized, based on that scene from earlier, he now realizes the importance of keeping Clark's secret a secret. Won't tell anyone. And have someone important with the news, right? I know it's like a rag or something, but he could help them in certain things, if another news person comes along, they call Nixon and he can help them, sort of thing. But no, because we have to have a climactic fight, he gets killed off because it's an easier way to get rid of this character than having him come back or something. I don't know. I just feel like that fight comes out of nowhere. Given the previous scene, we've seen like he's going to accept this, like he's going to, and now he's like, oh, I don't need that tape to have a story. And what are you going to do? This dude there, the meteor rocks make him weak, but, if you take the meteor rock, you throw it out, and Clark gets his powers back, he doesn't have to use them unless you're threatening somebody, but I don't know. I don't know what Nixon's plan would have been after this. But yeah, and we end with Chloe looking at pictures of the dance. Who took those? I don't know. But she's looking at them, and I think she deletes them or saves them, as they decided they just wanted these to be friends. Although they do sort of come back to it later in season 4. But it's never really fully come back to. And I said this before, but I think that they should have had Clark and Chloe be together for a little while, Just think about it. It's been all about Clark and Lana, right? And you have Whitney leave, and now Lana is free, although she's not totally free. They're technically still together, but they break up, right? Let's say they break up, but then now Clark is now with Chloe, so it's, I don't know, but then it ends with a conversation between Clark and Lana. Jonathan's gonna be okay. He has a cracked rib, but he's fine, I guess. But yeah, this episode was good until it wasn't. I'm gonna give it 4 Superman logos out of 5. I think it's good, but that fight where it's unnecessary to me. It's unnecessary to me, but they needed to have some kind of action, I guess. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this episode? Leave a comment below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.